I get asked this question a lot, like, why do you do what you do? Where did you start? What did you study? It's just like, it's one of those questions I think people like to ask. What makes you do what you do? What makes you tick? What makes you work so hard? Why do you love what you do? You know, all of these questions from personal trainers, other fitness experts in the industry, from other entrepreneurs, people, clients, friends, family, they ask me these questions. So this is a book. I actually mentioned it on my Insta TV a while ago, and I just flipped through it, and I'll share some highlights with you as well. But it's just like, this is me, obviously, about 14 or so years ago, 13, 14 years ago. I look a lot younger, hey? Wow, like hardly any makeup on. I still have this little chain. But yeah, this book I did after I had done quite a big TV show, and one of my clients at the time does these beautiful albums that last a very long time. You see, when you buy quality. And she said, why didn't I put together like this nice little, you know, kind of, I don't know, like an album of some of the things that you've achieved. And I was like, that is a really good idea. So I had to go fish out a whole lot of old ads and articles and all sorts of things and give them to her with a bit of a timeline. And she put it all together in this book. And it summarizes a lot. This is me, same sort of photo shoot, but this is my very, very, very first ad. I was 19 years old and I had just got back from Wales. I had no money. I had been living there for 2 years, and I've been working in gyms as a mentor and fitness instructor and personal trainer overseas for a while. And I came back and I had like very little money to my name, and I had this little rusty Corsa. I remember it so clearly because I had to take the entire boot off every time I traveled from one client to the other. I had to take the whole boot off in order to get all my gym equipment out the car. And the gym equipment it's amazing because it's actually still the gym equipment that I use today and that I sell on my e-store. It's rebounders, it's a mat, it's ankle weights, it's skipping ropes, it's dumbbells, it's adjustable weights, it's a step. It's things like that you can use for so many different exercises, and still to this day, those are still the things that I use every day in my workouts. They're still the things I use every day on my rebounder, and it's still the things I advocate because they are the most functional, and you can use them in so many different ways. So I used to take my boot off my Corsa, take out all my gym equipment, put the boot back on, lock the car, then hopefully there's a security guard or somebody close by that I can say, please just watch my stuff while I quickly go and open that door and put something in front of the door to keep it open, pop it into the lift, get everything inside the lift while somebody opens it for me, get to my client's little apartment, lay it all out, get my program, get my music, train the client, and then have to do it all over again by taking it all the way back to my car, taking the boot off. I mean, it was just such a huge journey for me. But this was like my first ad ever, where I got a measuring tape and I laid it on a piece of paper, colorful paper, like you can even see where I folded it like that, and my little business card. And that was how I started. I photostated so many of these, and I popped them under car windscreens, and I popped them in post boxes, and I got like my first call, and then my second call, and then my third call, and I built up until I had so many clients after about a year of going remote personal training, like home-to-home personal training, and so tired of traveling all the way from Mhloti, where I live, to all my clients in Durban, which is like a 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive sometimes with traffic, for like 80 Rand. How much was I charging? 50 Rand for an assessment and at 80 Rand for a full hour, and that was including all my petrol, my time, unpacking, oh my goodness. And I did that for a whole year until I couldn't anymore, and I got premises, and that's kind of how I started with a home gym, and then I had 3 gyms. But yeah, my first ever ad, I'm so glad I kept it, and that I will always look back on that and say, wow, like that's where it all began. And it's, 20 years ago next year, I think. Wow, that's crazy, 20 years ago. This is my first ever client, my mommy's best friend. And this is a picture, you'll see the two of us here training in her own home, in her home, and there's a rebounder in the picture. And there's me with dark hair. Oh my gosh, and that was one of my first ever ads, and I named my gym VO2 Max Private Gym, and that was the name of it for a long time, and my logo kind of changed and evolved. This was one of my first ever TV shows with SABC, High Five at 5, and they were interviewing like people like me, people in the fitness industry, young entrepreneurs, and that was one of my first sort of exposés on TV. And this was my gym that I had that ran from my own home. So it was an old house built in 1910. I took it over from my parents who were renting it for a while, and then they wanted to move. And I was like, no, I've just built up my business. So I took over the lease, and I was 20 at the time. I ended up buying the house a year later, which was really exciting. At 21, I bought my own home, and that was a big deal. In fact, it was a bank repossession, and I remember the bank had to wait for me to turn 21 so that I could actually put it in my name. And yeah, I was involved with some really cool events. This was like the Mr. Price Pro, I think it was at the time, which was a huge surfing event. We were one of the first ever private gyms in KZN, in Durban. So we got involved with all kinds of things, and these were some of my first clients ever, and one of my first ads. Wow. My logo changed, the gym grew a little bit, took over the whole house. I had one tiny little room where I was sleeping from, and my bathroom, and the rest of the house was pretty much gym. Like gym. Every room was a different aspect of the gym. Power plate in one room, private gym in the other, private gym in the other, private gym in the other. And one of my my specialities was creating, each gym was completely separate. So one gym had all the strength equipment, the cardio equipment, the hi-fi, the aircon, the free weight space, the floor space, and then the next gym had a duplicate of that, and the next gym had a duplicate of that, so that I had one trainer in one room, another trainer in another room, another trainer, and let's just say I had a group of guys in that room, a one-on-one in this room, and then maybe it was a group of Muslim ladies or something that could not be seen by men, so I could keep them separate, private. Everything was like separate entrances, and I could create the environment for every client. Some clients didn't like music, some clients like grunge music, some clients like pop music. Some clients didn't like the aircon on, some did like the aircon on. It was like, but I was able to create these little intimate spaces of private and group sessions. It was amazing. And when I moved from my house to our first private gym, we had the same setup. Every gym was unique. Every gym was like standalone. I even had some clients that they have autoimmune diseases, they have like transplants and really, really sensitive immune systems. So I had to sanitize the entire gym before they arrived, like literally from head to toe. I had to sanitize the whole thing, and so I was able to provide that kind of service for them because it was so isolated and contained, the environment. So yeah, so this was one of my first gyms ever. And there I actually trained under Jenny Rivett. So if you're watching this, thanks Jenny. And Jenny was Princess Diana's personal trainer, and she taught me how to do a modality called Genergy, using light weights and stuff. And I had my own little studio at home where I took, 8 to 10 ladies at a time, and that's probably where my love for class and group fitness started. Lots of different events where we promoted health, and we did races as a team, and with our clients we featured a lot in different newspapers. I used to love writing for newspapers, and one of my things was I used to love being first at stuff. I think I was the first person in Durban to get like power plate, and the first person in Durban to do Bosie balls, because I like to always bring the what's latest to my clients, and I used to research and then invest in that, and I used to take my profits and put it back into the gym and always have new stuff so that my clients never got bored. That was one of the things that I really prided myself on. We got involved with a really, really cool charity event. We actually started it, and it was to raise funds for after the Thailand tsunami. And it was a whole bunch of us girls, and we exercised for hours and hours and hours. So 8 hot chicks, 3 machines, 300 Ks, 10 hours, non-stop exercise to raise funds for the tsunami victims in Thailand. And yeah, all these, this was a long time ago now, but at the time when I did this album, these were some of my sort of career highlights. Yeah, lots of magazine articles. When we launched Power Plate, we launched Kiddies Fitness in KZN, and then I opened up my second gym at the same time that I actually launched this gym. So I went from my house to this very, very old looking building which had the most revolting wallpaper, and I remember going in there with a huge big hammer with my team, and it was so good for stress, and we banged these walls down with these hammers, and we constructed this whole new space which was just so beautiful. So the Hillcrest one was born, and at the same time we moved from my house to this beautiful space here, which I was very proud of, where all the gyms were separate. We had a studio, we had colonic irrigation, we had a spa, so like beauty treatments. This is all my sister's art when she first started as an artist. This was some of her first pieces, and now she's a very, very successful artist in South Africa and actually globally. We used to it was just the most amazing space. There was our reception area and our beauty therapists. yeah, just really awesome. That stage we were sponsored by Puma, just some nice highlights. We did a lot of photo shoots with my team, my staff, and then I started sponsoring something called Sunfit, and some of my sponsors jumped on board as well, and this was free exercise for the whole of Durban. So it would be held outside the Suncoast Casino, and it was free every day of the week, so it was 6 sessions, even a Saturday morning, and you could go and enjoy a free class for an hour every afternoon at 5:30, and you wouldn't have to pay anything. And Suncoast came to the party a lot by providing us the space and the security, and they stored our sound system, and we always had a sponsor. And when we didn't have a sponsor, I personally paid for it. So we did that for about 9 years, and a lot of people, like hundreds and hundreds of people, flocked there every week to do exercise for free. And the only time I stopped it was when I moved to Joburg about 4 years ago, and it was just too hard for me to control it from Joburg, so we kind of put a pause to it. But still to this day, we get inbox messages from people saying, please bring Sunfit back, we miss it so much, and it is one of my goals to bring it back. So if you're watching this and you want to sponsor something like that, then let me know, because I'd love to reignite it. We had cool events as staff. I did some really nice stuff with the Sunday Tribune. We did challenges every year, like Mission 007, Mission 008. We did the abs challenge. I love transformations. So anything about before and after, taking people from here to there, teaching them how to fish, teaching them how to survive in their natural environment, giving them the tools in which they need to cope with things like setbacks and obstacles and distractions and all kinds of things that happen in one's life. I love to take people from here to there. It's one of my passions. So I've been doing this for many, many years with newspaper articles and magazines and just on my own social media and my own studio. Then I started another business. It was a ladies only facility called Go Figure. And part of it was something called Go Home. And Go Home was all the trainers that would come to your house and train you in the comfort of your own home. And then Go Wellness, which was our mobile beauty business. And it's funny because that's kind of like where we're at right now with COVID. It's like if you're wanting a treatment, most people are coming to your home, trainers going to your home. It's like everything is going back to that sort of one-on-one, very simple at-home training. So it's like it's done a full circle. But yeah, Go Wellness, Go Figure, Go Home was a sort of a sideline business that I did with a close friend of mine. And then I got my big break, which is I'm very grateful for. Every single day, I thank my lucky stars for having the opportunity to be the trainer for South Africa on The Biggest Loser. So that was me. That was like a decade ago. But more than a decade ago, 12 years ago now. And I was responsible for the blue team, and Bruce here was responsible for the red team. And we still stay in touch, which is awesome. And I still stay in touch with some of the losers. And yeah, this was a highlight of my career for sure, because I had no TV experience, no TV training. And I was really thrown into the deep end with 7 incredible people from around the country. All had different reasons why they were obese and in that situation. So different ages, different sexes, different circumstances, and most of them have been through some trauma or other, and that's why they were kind of in that situation. And it was very emotional. I cried so much on that show, and it brought out a whole nother side of me that it never went back to how it was before. I became really, really emotional, still am. And after that show, I decided to study further into a bit more nutrition, behavioral kinesiology, because I wanted to understand a human being. And it's not just about making people exercise more and eating less. There's so much more that goes into helping somebody get the best out of their bodies, their health, their lives, to getting them to achieve their goal and live their best lives. There is so much more that goes into it with regards to sort of social pressure, background, DNA, digestion, stress, sleep, anxiety, what you eat, how you exercise, when you exercise. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it, and it's actually quite complicated. So it actually pushed me into the direction of trying to understand people a bit better and what they need, and that this is a very personal journey for everybody, and that you can't use one script for everybody. It has to be personal, it has to be unique, and it's getting people to be a bit more aware of themselves, conscious of themselves, and just stay a little bit more in touch with their bodies and understand it a bit better, and then give them the tools that they need to live their best lives, and making sure it's personal. So Biggest Loser was a huge sort of pivoting point in my career. It also did catapult me into the media more than I was ever prepared for, and from that point I was asked to do like a lot of radio radio stuff and a lot of writing, and I appeared on lots of shows. And then I produced some of my own content. I did it for my very, very own show, which is called Keep It Real on ETV Sunrise for about 13 weeks. And then I was asked to be on Expresso, like a lot, as one of their fitness and wellness experts, on the Doctor's Orders show, Dr. Mole's show, Hello Doctor. And then I did something international, which was quite great, for Trace Sports Stars. And I produced and presented about 50 episodes for them, which aired around the world, lots of different channels, lots of languages. And I had to produce that and present it. And it was huge, and I would never have had any of those opportunities had I not got the show. So to this day, I'm really, really grateful for it, and it taught me a lot about myself, a lot about human beings. And when I look back at it, my heart swells, just because it was such an awesome time. So these are just photos of behind the scenes, special moments with the team. And yeah, that's the finale. That's John and I at the finale. And here's sort of the final results. I mean, the Biggest Losers had the most incredible results in that short space of time. It was really, really inspirational. And then I continued to write for the Sunday Tribune. Every week I had my own space to write about different things in the wellness industry. And I just started presenting and started doing lots of wellness workshops and corporate events and talks. And these are just some of my slides from some of my talks. And then I actually wrote here some of my goals. There were 15 of them. We were just discussing it before I shot this little clip. And it was, I think there's like 2 things on here that I haven't managed to achieve, and I promise you I will. And I think it's time that I do another book. But just in a nutshell, I mean, this is just my background to show you how long I have been in the industry and how I've dedicated my whole life to it. And I always knew I wanted to do it. When I did a bit of a past life regression meditation course years ago, and something came up in that course that I had never noticed before. And I was lying there, and this vivid memory came back of when I was very, very, very little. I was like 5 years old, and I used to, get home from school, and all of my dolls were sick. Every single one of them was in their own little hospital bed, and I was the nurse, and I would go there and I'd check their temperature, give them medicine, clean their ears. How are you, my baby? How are you feeling today? And my mom thought I'd be like a nurse of some kind. But I think it was written in the stars that I was always meant to look after people. I was meant to help people. I was meant to make people better. And I'm glad I wasn't working as a nurse, because that's always on the the side after people are sick. But I ended up becoming somebody that looks after people to help prevent them from getting sick in the first place, like a more preventative role. So that's what I do. And I think it was always going to be my destiny. And when I was in high school, and I was living with lots of different families throughout my high school career, because I was a gymnast, and my parents moved out of the town that we lived in and gave me a choice. Do you want to come with us, or do you want to stay in this town? And I decided to stay in the town, and my parents left, and I had to stay with different families so that I could continue with my ballet career, I could continue with gymnastics and sport, and not have to stay in the boarding establishment, but stay with people that could carry me to and fro from all of these extramurals. And so I never lived with my parents. I only saw them on the weekends, every second weekend, and I stayed with these other families. And I had to be really self-disciplined. I had to have a lot of self-control. I had to cook my own food. I had to pack my own school lunch. I had to get to school on a bike. I had to get to ballet on my own on a bicycle. I had to get to gymnastics and ride home at 7 o'clock at night on my own, and then still make myself dinner. So it taught me a lot about self-discipline, self-control, that you can do whatever you want as long as you apply your mind. It's all about your attitude, and also made me fall in love with other people and what made them tick, and what made like a family work, and what made people do the things that they do. So I think I developed a heightened EQ from very young. So from 5 years old, having this passion for helping people and making people better, to living an entire sort of high school career in the ballet, gymnastics, self-control, self-discipline, exercise, nutrition. That was my life, was that. And then living with these families and realizing I love people. I love understanding what makes people work and do the things that they do. And I realized I really want to work with people in my life. And I want to work in fitness, nutrition, self-control, self-discipline, being the best you can. So right throughout high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so when I had to study, it was so easy for me to make the decision that I wanted to help people. I wanted to teach people. I wanted to empower people, educate people, motivate people. And so from a very young age, from the age of 18, this is all I've done. So I just wanted to share with you that story, because I haven't really told it very often, unless asked on radio or whatever, how did you start where you started? But it actually started when I was 5, and it was this deep sense that I needed to dedicate my life to helping others. And I still don't feel like I've even hit the mark. I feel like it's just beginning, and all that I have to teach and all those sort of tools that I have to help others, I feel like it's only just begun. And I feel like there's a long journey still ahead, and I've got so much to learn. And more than any other course ever that I've done, and I've done a lot along the way, my clients have taught me what I know. My clients have taught me everything I know, and they have given me the empathy and compassion needed. So they've taught me more about myself and about the world and what people face than any other course I could have ever done. So I thank all my clients, all those that have supported me along the way, and I know this path is just begun. And I know that there's so much more to learn, and there's so much more to do, and I feel honestly like the journey is just still new. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. And for those that wanted to know a bit about me, that probably only started following me recently and didn't know who I was or where I've come from, that is really my story. And I hope that through following my pages and buying my products and doing my programs, that a little bit of what I've learned and experienced can be passed on through you, and hopefully from you to your loved ones, to your children. And yeah, we can live better lives and have a better planet. Have more longevity, more energy, more vitality, and live the best lives, the ones that we deserve to live.